everyone. A Thursday night, 9 o'clock. It's time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. It's going to be a very different show this week. For one thing, I can tell you it's going to be quite a short show. We've only really got the Currie Cup Final taking place this weekend. There's a few other rugby games scattered around the world. But we're also going to talk a little bit about international rugby. That, of course, gets going next week. So we'll touch on those handicaps after we've spoken about the Currie Cup Final. And the man I've got here, it's a return of the prodigal son, I guess you could say. He's taken a bit of a break. But with international rugby looming, I know he's keen to get back onto the show. And I happened to catch a picture of him last week with his bra and his brandy in his Griquas top. He's as happy as can be that the Griquas are in the final. Henrik Swart at the Undertaker. Great to have you back, mate.
Hi, Brent. Yeah, no, great to be back. Like you say, I like being on the show, so I'm always keen, but I've been on a bit of a bad run during the mid parts of Super Rugby and URC and stuff. And from experience, I know I do quite well in the early parts of the competition. So I decided to take a bit of a break. Well, not a complete break. I just pulled stakes back a bit. Still had a few bets. Focused more on the Currie Cup and did quite all right there, at least. But yeah, I'm very excited for the international starting next week. And later, we've got the NPC in August starting again. That's one of my favorite tournaments. But yeah, this weekend, the great Currie Cup Final to look forward to. The two small unions, they had full resources, and the other unions probably had have a few. They didn't have all their players, so they have. I'm really looking forward to the Currie Cup Final on Saturday.
Excellent. Yeah, me too. Just to mention that it's just going to be you and me tonight. The conductor hit by load shedding, and myself. Well, you might be able to, if you've got sensitive ears, hear the generator in the background. Load shedding from 12 to 2:30. Power came back on from 2:30 to 2:31. And since then, we've been without power. Unbelievable, this place we live in at the moment. Anyway, thank goodness I've got the generator. Apologies to the neighbours, but this will be a shorter show at any rate. Welcome to all the guys in the live chat. The Wager Warlock and Mark Dunphy, both happy to see Hendrik Swart back. My wife bringing me a cup of tea. Thanks very much. That took a while to heat on the old fireplace there. And let's get cracking into the action then, Hendrik. We've got, I handicapped this game. Grick was -6.5. I think there was some -4.5 at Sunbet early in the week. But generally, we're looking, I think, around -5.5, -6.5. As you say, a big game. Two teams. Grick was appearing in their first final since the 1970s. And the Pumas, well, they've never been there. So you've got two teams. This is their chance, really. We're in for a cracking game.
Yeah, Brent, the betting has been quite stable, actually. It's probably right. It's where you kept it. There hasn't been a lot of movement. Like you said, it was on -4 and moved to -6. Now it's between -5 and -6.5. I think the Greek was on the minus, probably the way to go. But I would not write off the Pumas. Yeah, either of these two teams can win this game, but home team advantage, and Greek was playing in Kimberley is obviously heavily in their favour. Two great coaches. I've always been a fan of Jimmy Stonehouse, and Peter Berg has done wonders with the Griquas after coming up from the Varsity Cup. Two great coaches, and it's going to be a great game. If pushed, I would probably go on the minus here, but I'm looking forward to seeing the points because I've got a bit of a fancy on the points. I'm not sure where you think the total points will come out and what your fancy would be there. But it's a 3:00 game, and I'm not sure the referees. I haven't checked, actually. But I'll tell you my fancy.
I'll tell you what I'll do, Henrik. I'll give you my points. I'll give you my point spread where I think it's going to come out in a minute or two. And then you can give me your views on the points there. But just to say, as far as the handicap goes, I'm very much the same camp as you. My initial thought was Grick was minus. Even as I was watching both games last week, and I was hell of impressed with the Pumas, make no mistake. But I just thought Grick was at home. They're not going to make a mess up here. They're going to deliver on the minus. But there's just something about this Pumas side as well. They play well when they're underdogs. And I just can't bring myself to really pull the trigger on that. So I'm probably going to be looking to the points markets as well. So let me come up with a quote. Let me play bookmaker here. We obviously don't have anything as far as points go. Interested as well, the guys in the live chat, if you got any feelers what the points might be. Just to mention the Wager Warlock, he's stirring a little bit there. He wants to have you and Betting Stig on the show together to discuss kicking to the corner. Just an interesting one. I'll bring his comment up now. And it's interesting because you were saying, and I remember the tweet, the thread on Twitter is you were saying when you're on unders, you actually don't mind them kicking to the corner because more often than not they don't score the try. And Stig was arguing that, and interesting because I'm in your camp there on that one. I must admit, I've always felt when I'm on overs, I want them to take the points early. I want them to accumulate points because I always feel the tries will flow later. And I guess there's no definite theory. It's probably all of us got a preference, but I'm very much in your camp there. If I'm on unders, I actually prefer them to go for the corner most of the time.
Yeah, it depends on the type of game as well, probably. If it's like a heavy favorite going for the corner, they will probably then score and you'll get yellow cards with all the pressure and stuff. But when it's two teams that's more evenly matched, I like the teams taking the points when it's available because the other team defending the more, they are a better, well, they're evenly matched, so the chances of keeping the out but much better. So when I'm on the unders, I want the teams kicking to the corners, and when I'm on overs, I want those 3 pointers to add up.
Excellent. Yeah, very much, as I say, you and I think along the same lines there. But as you say, not to say that that's going to be right all the time. It's more just that feeling of what you're looking for at the time. Graham Pino coming onto the show to say he enjoys it. Graham, good to have you on board. This week, as I say, much shorter than normal, but we've still got a quality game to look forward to. Henrik, just one other thing before we get on to that total points line that I'm going to give you. Remember a couple of years ago when we had our Gary still on Gary's show, Grick was in a semi-final, and we decided Gary, I think, was going to sponsor us a trip to Kimberley to go and watch Grick. But unfortunately, that year they never made the final.
Yeah. I remember that well, Brent. And we were all talking about taking the bus or whatever. And on Saturday, as soon as the Pumas won, I actually opened up my laptop. I checked some prices for flights and stuff. But the prices are crazy at the moment with Kame being grounded. The only one flight I saw was Airlink, and that was from Cape Town to Kimberley and back, 6,000 rand, and that's a bit stiff for me. 2-3 weeks ago, I flew to Walvis Bay and back, which is in Namibia, for 4,500. So 6,000 to Kimberley. That was just too stiff, but I would really have wanted to go to this guy. I think it's going to be a great game. And now with the restrictions lifted and they can fill the whole stadium, I hope they get a full stadium. They should, because it's not the biggest stadium. But I think it's going to be a great game. And I've seen a guy that's also a follower of Good for the Game, and he, on Twitter, his brother is the coach of
Olaf.
I see he's on Nine's show at the moment. I quickly saw a bit of the show going on at the moment. So he's talking to Olaf, asking about his brother, how the Greek was set up and stuff. And I saw he said he and his father and the other brother, they're going up tomorrow. So they're going up for the final. I think it's going to be a great game.
I saw when he posted that, I thought, and for a brief minute, I thought of trying to put something together at short notice, and it just didn't work out for me from a timing point of view. Would love to have been there as well. Just having a look, Dave mentioning Grick went to the corner 4 times in the first half and didn't score, so sort of backing up your theory there. Mark Dunphy saying, is that a Griquas top that the Undertaker is wearing? And Henrik, it is indeed a Griquas top. There we go, the Tafellager. I remember you ordering it. I think it was after a big win on the Griquas sometime, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was last year when they were still sponsored by Tafellager. They're now sponsored by Windhoek, the other Namibian beer. But I ordered this one from the Griqualand West Rugby Union, and they only had the players' shirts. They didn't have any supporters' shirts left. So this one is a bit tight on me because it's a match shirt. But I wear it with pride this week, eh?
Oh, no, excellent. Looking forward to that. Right, I'm going to give you that point, and I just want to pop back. Nathan gave us an estimate.
Yeah, I saw that one.
I'm going to give you a quote here. I'm going to say 56.5, Henrik, is the points line.
Yeah, I thought it would be about 54.5, and I'm 100% in agreement with Nathan. I think unders here. I think and backing that up, the team that Griquas has picked, I see they've got George Whitehead at fullback in Ashland David's place, which is more of a kicking player than an attacking player. And they've got Stefan Ungerer at 9 as well in Johan Mulder's place, also more of a kicking scrum half than attacking. So I just think both these teams, they might be a bit nervous because of it being a final. I can't see them throwing it around as wildly as they normally do. So I think mid-50s or higher, I'd be very confident on the unders here. What do you think, Brent?
Remember that there was a game last year between these sides. I remember being on the unders as well. And I think it wasn't a playoff game, but it was almost like a quarterfinal, if I remember correctly. Like the winner if I remember correctly, got through to the semi-final. And also the points were at about 58.5, and I think it was 13 all or something like that between these sides. It was totally.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you remember that game? It's totally different. So yeah, I'm with you there. And certainly Nathan, I can tell you, yeah, if I can get a quote around 58.5, I'll definitely be going unders there. I expect, and even if one team gets ahead with a few points, it's not going to be like a Currie Cup where they're pushing for bonus points and that. I actually can see the team that goes ahead sort of tightening up a little bit, almost like inviting the other team at them, perhaps not intentionally. But yeah, there we go. Nathan mentioning the 13 or draw there.
Pretty good kickers as well, so you can probably take the unders on tries as well, because George Whitehead is a good kicker, and you've got Tinus de Beer, and who's the other kicker for Request the Centre.
For sure.
Yeah, he's pretty good as well. So it's good kickers. But obviously we like going unders on the points more, but I think the unders on tries, if you can get about, say, under 6.5 tries or even 7.5, that'd be great. But under 6.5 tries, I'll take that as well.
Yes, I think I was unders in one of the games last week. I remember, and it arrived quite comfortably. And but with these Currie Cup games, you always got those nervous moments at some stage where it can open up. But okay, so we both like unders there. We're probably both leaning towards Griquas, but not really getting too involved in the handicap. Haven't really decided if we'll put a best bet out yet. I'll probably wait for points lines, but you can subscribe to the newsletter below if you haven't done that yet. But Henrik, that is it as far as the Currie Cup goes. But let's talk a little bit about next week's internationals. And I haven't written out any slides or whatever, but I'm going to pop onto. Let me pop onto WSB.
WSB has got it, all of them, all the big games. WSB has them on.
Okay, they've got all of. So give me a sec. I'm going to bring up WSB's.
The first one is New Zealand and Ireland, and that they've got it at 12.5 at the moment. It opened up 14.5. I think it's around about 12.5 now. There's been a bit of money for Ireland. I think that 12.5 is still too big. I haven't checked where all the games are being played. Like where this one, if it's in Auckland, it's obviously a bit of a worry because New Zealand, they're so good in Auckland. But yeah, I think plus 12.5 Ireland is the way to go here.
Yeah, Mark just pointing out there's the Maori played against Ireland in midweek. I also saw that this morning and I thought, great, we've got some midweek rugby to look forward to. Just quickly before we move on to the other internationals, Japan, Uruguay, any views on that this weekend? I just happened to see that on the fixture list now. Japan minus 26.5.
Minus 26.5. Okay, yeah. Uruguay, they've been on a bit of a downward spiral. I think, if I remember correctly, I haven't done research on this, but in Japan they are on the up, obviously with Jamie Joseph there, and so yeah, I think the minus should be the way to go there.
Right, let's get back to next week's internationals. Another big clash, Australia against England. I missed that English game against the Barbarians this weekend when they were quite well beaten, although I never take those Barbarian games seriously. And here we got the Wallabies minus 4.5 at home against England. Any early fancies there, Henrik?
Yeah, Brent, I always like the Aussies. I'm a fan of, and I know you have this view as well. As bad as they sometimes do in Super Rugby, they always seem to put a good team together when they put the international team together. But they've been quite good in the Super Rugby this year. I think it might actually be a bit of New Zealand being not as good as they were, but yeah, last year when France went to Australia with a third team, they ran Australia really close there. So I think the plus is, I think the plus is the way to go here on England. I think England can win that, especially with Eddie Jones being an Australian. I won't be surprised to see Australia losing the first test.
But South Africa up against Wales. Here we got South Africa, the big favourites, and not surprisingly, I guess, minus 17.5. And that's at 5 to 6, suggesting a bit of money at that level. At 18.5, you can get 10 to 11 South Africa. Yeah,
I think the minus is the way to go here. Wales is not that impressive for me lately. And I've unsuccessfully taken South Africa on the past few years in the first game and thinking they won't cover big handicaps and stuff like that. But they actually come out firing. And with the coaching staff they've got, I think the minus is the way to go there.
And I mean, Henry, let's face it, from a South African point of view as well, plenty of competition for places in that. Yeah, no one wants to go into that first test and have a below par game because you may not get another chance. Yeah,
I told my wife this past weekend, in my opinion, South Africa has got the most talent in the world, of every country in the world when it comes to rugby. We have so many players playing overseas and players dominating. Look at the Premiership final again, the South Africans dominating there as well.
Two tries, two South Africans.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, like you said, there's so much competition. We've got so many quality players, and now we've got a quality coaching team as well. We've got to be brave to take out South Africa at the moment.
No, certainly. And look, I'll stick to my theory that the only team that can stop the French juggernaut in 2023, the World Cup, is South Africa. Because I think we got that. We're the only team that's going to be able to muscle up to them up front, because up to that French pack. So I'm really looking forward to that, of course. Let's go on then. There's one other international. Not sure if you've got a firm view on this one. Argentina, they're at home to Scotland, and Argentina -4.5 here.
I've actually got a pretty firm view on this one. This is one that I actually fancy. I like the Scottish here. I like them to roll over Argentina. Scotland, they always, the past few years, they've put a pretty good team together out of their two URC teams. So yeah, and I'm not sure about the Argentines, how much prep they've had for this, and the players playing all over the world at the moment. Yeah, so I like Scotland to win this.
Right.
What do you think? Haven't you got a strong fancy on that one?
No. I must admit, I haven't. The one I do like is, I think, the one that everyone, and you mentioned it right up front, I do like the Irish to give New Zealand one hell of a run. At the Crow Tips on Twitter was asking, what price could he get for the 3 home teams to win 3-0? And that would be an interesting one. I reckon you'd get a pretty big price, though, because you've got to expect that Ireland, well, maybe South Africa should win 3-0, but certainly Australia, England, and Ireland, New Zealand, you've got to fancy England and Ireland to at least get something, eh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure England will win at least one of those tests. And yeah, I see the first test for New Zealand and Ireland is in Auckland, so that's a bit of a worry. But I think New Zealand, lots of times when they win the one test convincingly, they're shocking in the next one, or other way around. So yeah, I can see Ireland having a sniff in one of those tests, maybe winning. And yeah, I'm pretty sure England will win one of the tests against Australia, at least one of the tests against Australia.
Right, well, just to mention, I'm not expecting you to have a firm view on this one. I see it's the first division final between the Griffins and the Elephants tomorrow. Griffins -6.5 against the EP Elephants. Any views at all on this one, Henrik? My view would probably be points.
Yeah, points. Yeah, I agree on that one. Points on the handicap. I'm not sure how good EP is at the moment. I haven't followed them. The Griffins, they're normally pretty good side out in Welcome, and with them playing at home, I think the minus is the way to go there. But like you said, points. Even though it's a final in the first division, there's always a lot of points.
Right, so Nathan saying he's an EP fan. It certainly would be great, Nathan, to see Eastern Province Rugby back at the forefront, back in some major competitions and that, because it is a part of the world that just generates so many great players. Right, Henrik, well, we're going to go through the best bets. It's obviously a bit limited today, so what I'm going to say is, maybe just summarize your Currie Cup bet there, and perhaps feel free to throw something in for next week then.
Yeah, I think unders on total points in the final. Like I said, I expected to come out at 54.5, and I'm very happy to take unders there. So if it's higher, and like you guys think it might be a point or two higher, I'd be very I'd be keen on the unders there. And then early look at next week. Obviously the plus on Ireland, and then I like Scotland a bit.
Mark Dunphy saying the Bali Titans are playing the Jakarta Jaguars on Saturday. Now, Mark, I guarantee you, Henrik, neither I nor Henrik have an opinion on that one. And Mark, if you're still in Bali there, well, I guess you can go back and catch a bit of sleep, because it's a much shorter show than usual. We don't get many of these throughout the year. I'm normally trying to rush the show along, and today it's like really one game that we've talked about plus the internationals. But let me say this, first of all, thanks to all the guys who did join us on the live chat. And Henrik, great having you back on the show, mate. And looking forward to getting your contributions throughout the international season. Thank you very much, Brent. Yeah, now we're in middle of the year, and now we can look forward to the internationals and all the other competitions, since like the NPC. Yeah, it was nice being back. Thank you for inviting me back. And yeah, I hope you have a good weekend and enjoy the final. And to all the guys, enjoy the game. I think it's going to be a very good final. Some people might think because the two lesser teams, you might not be looking forward to it as much, because normally the bigger team, they've got more supporters, but I think it's going to be a very good Currie Cup final. Excellent. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Nathan coming in with the last one. Fancies Montpellier as the small underdog there in the top 14 final. So, yeah, the French, I just wish we could get more of that. I know it's the major rugby league. There's the major rugby league, the USA final this weekend as well. And I know at UK Rugby Bets will have a podcast and opinion on that one. But I don't think we get any, Hendrik, we don't get any televised coverage of the US leagues, do we?
Not that I know of, Brent. No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's it. And Nathan, just also agreeing with you there, the fact that this is a Currie Cup final between two teams you don't often get that opportunity does certainly make it mean more for them. Absolutely no doubt about that. Well, that brings us to the end of the show then, guys. Thanks very much for joining us. It's a short and sharp one. The neighbours will be happy. I can turn the generator off in a few minutes. Mark just throwing in there that the top 14 is tomorrow. So if you are betting on the French rugby, bear that in mind. From myself and Hendrik, we'll see you sometime soon. And the other one thing I wanted to shout, another man who's making a return soon, Hendrik, is the Oracle.
Yes, I actually sent him a WhatsApp earlier in the week asking him how he's doing here down in Cape Town. I should actually see him because he's been here, but he's still settling in. And he said he hasn't been able to see anybody, and he's working on his, what his new project is.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that as well. But yeah, I look forward to getting him back onto the show and actually meeting up with him sometime down here in Cape Town as well.
Excellent. Well, keep in mind as well, I haven't booked the tickets yet with all this flight nonsense there, but I'm coming down for a wedding, I think around about the 8th of September. So that Thursday, okay. It's the Thursday before the Sevens.
The Sevens World Cup. Yeah. I'm going on Friday. I've got tickets for the Friday for the Sevens World Cup. I'm not big on the Sevens, but I'm taking my family for the day for the Friday.
No, that'll be great. And what I want to do is maybe organize, because there's so many of you guys that I've had on my show that are in the Cape and that I've just never met. I mean, we've seen each other now because of this. And what I want to organize on the Thursday night is that we go somewhere, have a beer, perhaps even do the show maybe from somewhere there. But we'll talk about that closer to the time. That'll be great to meet everyone.
I'd be very keen.
The Wager Warlock suggesting we can do a live show in the Akker and Stellenbosch. That sounds pretty good to me. I'm happy to give it a go. And no, Nathan, Oracle has left Hollywood, and I don't think Hendrik and I will mention it now, but we'll certainly get Oracle to mention it when he comes on the show. He's actually got a new project, one that could be quite exciting for South African fans, rugby betting fans in particular. If it's what I expect, and we look forward to getting Oracle's views on that one. But Hendrik Swart, thank you very much, the Undertaker, for joining us, and we'll see you next week for the Handicap Rugby Chat.